Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, with you for another episode of the Steelers postgame show. And unlike the past 4 weeks, this is a depressing one. The Steelers lay an egg, literally, figuratively, every way you can possibly imagine. 21-7 loss on Thursday Night Football to the Cleveland Browns, and it moves their record to 5-5. They're back at 500. Still not out of it. I don't think any stretch of the imagination, but boy, this was a telling football game in a lot of ways. I bring in Lance Williams, my co-host. Lance, what were your knee-jerk reactions to the loss on Thursday night?
It was a tough one. This is the game when you talked about in our last show about low expectations from Mason Rudolph. This is the game we don't want. This is the game that we're kind of scared of. They get down. He has to press. He has to make some plays. The offensive line is pretty inconsistent in terms of pass protection. He turns the ball over. This was that ugly game that he was able to avoid over the last several weeks. And it kind of makes what you were saying in the last couple of shows resonate even more, that we've got to keep the expectations pretty low when it comes to Mason Rudolph. And if he's just doing enough to not lose them games, then he's doing a whole lot.
Yeah. And tonight, whenever you're listening to this, was the lowest of the low for Mason Rudolph during his stint as the starting quarterback for the Steelers. He was intercepted 4 times. And some of them were just dreadful passes. There's no excusing them. I know on Twitter someone hit me up and said, "Can't wait to hear you try to back up Mason Rudolph after this one." You can't. There's no way you can. That would be like in 2017 when Roethlisberger threw 5 picks against the Jaguars. You can't defend anything. It's not my job to defend him. It's just one of those things that it was an awful game all around. I thought that the defense settled in eventually, but there was no pop in this game. And maybe, just maybe, this speaks a little bit to Thursday Night Football in general. Players aren't really ready for that game yet. The lack of preparation isn't there. I'm not excusing the loss because the Steelers did not deserve to win this at all. But at the same time, you got to wonder if that plays a role. Before I forget, Grayson just gave us $9.99 in the tip jar. He says, "Sup, guys, it seems like every year we cannot escape a bloodbath, unsportsmanlike AFC North, and the league needs to think twice about scheduling 3 division games in a row." Sheesh. Grayson's referring to the end of the game when Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph and Matt Filer and David DeCastro and Marquise Pouncey had a little meeting. Lance, let's talk about it right off the bat before we get into the nitty-gritty and talk about numbers and the game itself. Everyone's going to be talking about this for at least the next 24 to 48 hours. First things first, if you're the commissioner, you're laying down fines, you're laying down suspensions, who's getting suspended, who's not? How would you divvy that up?
I think, obviously, Garrett is going to get suspended. I think Pouncey is going to get suspended unfairly. Big up to Marquise Pouncey. He is definitely a guy you want holding your back and holding you down. Him and DeCastro, that's what you want in the dark alley. You want them 2 big boys having your back. But Pouncey's absolutely going to get suspended as well for the punches and the kicks. And there was a guy, I can't recall the player's number. They probably know it on the live chat because it's playing in the background, I'm sure, in both of our houses, Jeff, and we just can't look at it. But the defensive lineman that pushed Mason Rudolph in the back,
number 65,
he's going to get a suspension as well. I think he was ejected as well. But I think for some of the other players possibly in the game who got ejected, the hitting with Deontay Johnson, like some of those guys, I think are going to pay, their suspensions are going to be a little more heavy as well.
If I'm the commissioner, I would say that Myles Garrett gets no less than a 5-game suspension. He's had questionable plays, not like Vontaze Burfict questionable, but he does have a history of kind of pushing the envelope.
I think he's gotten two significant fines this year. Either two, I know two for sure. It might be three. He got some significant fines from some hits that he took earlier this year. It might have been against Russell Wilson, I believe. But he's taken some shots beyond the whistle this year and gotten two big fines. I think he's getting fined in excess of $50,000 a couple of times this year. So with that, coupled with this action, he may be lucky to get 5 games.
So I would say minimum 5. Wouldn't be shocked if the NFL wants to take a stand and say, you know what, we don't want Vontaze Burfict 2.0 in the league anymore. And they let Vontaze Burfict piss around in the league and get through different suspensions, and he came back and all this stuff. If they want to set the record straight, they say you're done for the year. And any postseason play. If the Browns were somehow able to make the playoffs.
Well, you know what you said. When you said that earlier before we jumped into the studio, I was like, maybe not. But no. Now that I think about it now, and I think what's going to hurt him as well is the nature of how this game got played. The multiple Steeler players get knocked out for helmet-to-helmet hits, and this icing on the cake, so to speak, with that. And just, I think the league, I mean, you had Deontay Johnson carted off with blood coming out of his ear. I mean, that's not a good look on the marquee game on Thursday. This is the one game. All the eyes are on this. And I don't think anybody is going to feel sorry for Garrett, particularly with the earlier fines that he's gotten this year. With the helmet, I think you're right, Jeff. I think he's going to get put on the commissioner's exempt list, and at least till they figure it out, he's going to sit idle. But I don't think we'll see Myles Garrett back for the rest of the season.
No, and I think Pouncey should. No, should is not the right word. I think he defended his teammate. I don't say that he shouldn't have done that, but just the visual of him coming in, punching, kicking is at least going to get him one, I would imagine. But at the same time, I don't think anyone else will probably. I doubt that defensive lineman even gets a game that shoved Mason Rudolph from behind.
He'll get fined. He'll get fined.
Oh, he'll get fined. I'm just saying I don't think he'll get suspended or anything like that. So
this not to cut you off, but this is the type of thuggery that the NFL really wants to clean up. And their corporate sponsors are not happy. Networks, they're not happy, but the ratings are still nice for the networks because, I mean, this is what everybody's going to be talking about. ESPN is going to love it and all that stuff, but this is not a good look for the game. And this is the type of stuff that they've wanted to get out of the game for years. I mean, we have a stomach for some of this. I mean, we've seen some stuff. I've never seen a football guy in a pro game swing a helmet and hit somebody. I've seen it in high school. I've seen it in college as well, but never at the pro game. And it's going to be heavy-handed, and it should be.
It's if you don't, then you're just going to allow players to believe that this is somewhat acceptable. Like if Myles Garrett were to get 2 games, so he would miss that game with the Steelers in 2 weeks, and then get to play again, that's not driving home any point. And that's, I think, where a lot of people felt that a player like Burfict was just kind of skirting the law all the time. But Kyle Smith gave us $20 in the tip jar, which is really generous, but I can't say I agree with the comment. I'll read it here. It says, first off, big fan. Second, he's talking about when the Steelers play the Browns next time. He said, I want the people, I want headhunting. He said, I want people, lying on the field in 2 weeks. Bengals, Bush Leaguery times 5. I want to see careers ended. I'm not going that far. It was bad. It was a bad look for the league. It was bad all around. And I think that's not, it's so tough. The emotion of it gets in the way, but
to his point though, and this really reinforces what you said earlier about him missing the season because of that potentially happening in Pittsburgh and it getting really ugly. And it got ugly in the stands too. It got ugly in the stands too as well. with the potential of this getting really, 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 really ugly in Pittsburgh, and for the league trying to avoid what happened between the Steelers and the Bengals, excuse me, it's late. Um, they are really going to be heavy-handed on Myles Garrett, and they are going to send directives to both teams that if this gets out of hand, quick ejections, quick fines, they're going to be on top of this, and they're going to handle what he was saying to prevent that, heavy fines and suspensions. And the unfortunate thing for Myles Garrett was he was having a whale of a ball game. But when he held Mason Rudolph down a little bit longer, it kind of piqued my interest. Like, he's kind of rubbing this in because he sacked him. He didn't let him up. He kind of drove him into the ground. And I was like, he's putting a little hot sauce on this tackle. And Mason Rudolph felt the same way. Like, dude, the game is over, dude. Like, what are you doing? This is Bush League. And these are big guys. It's emotional. They just lost. The other team won. And, I'm almost surprised it didn't get worse.
Well, there was only 8 seconds left, or it would have, I think. Absolutely would have.
Riddle me this. Can you imagine this with Joey Porter on the sidelines?
Nope. Or James Harrison even.
Or James Harrison. If Debo and Joey were on the sidelines, we're talking Pier 6 brawl. They might still be fighting.
It was so weird. Like I was down, I'm watching the game, and I'm literally almost falling asleep. It was such a bad football game from start to finish, every way possible. And then all of a sudden, this happens. And I get Mason Rudolph's reaction because you've thrown 4 interceptions. You're pissed at yourself for basically throwing a game away. And I don't even know if Myles Garrett had to take him to the ground after he got rid of the football, but he did. Like you said, he holds him down a little bit, and Mason's like, "Get off, man!" And then all of a sudden, his helmet's being ripped off his head. And this, another bad look to this is everyone saw the very public display in regards of Rudolph's concussion against the Ravens in week 4. Week 5. And so with that, now you have another player swinging a helmet at a helmetless player that's already had a concussion this year. It just compounds everything. It just starts to snowball.
Let me add the last element because this resonates in your household. All of the women in the country that are upset that Pretty Mason got hit in his head with a helmet. All of the women in the country are upset that the pretty guy got hit in the head with a helmet. They were all yelling, "Please keep your helmet on, son. You're too pretty to be fighting."
He didn't take it off voluntarily.
Well, yes, or put it back on. Please let us not let that pretty face get hit. And the thing about this game, maybe we could tilt it back towards the game, is this is going to hide an abysmal performance by him. People are going to kind of forget that he was awful, that offense was awful. Now, he wasn't helped out by Deontay Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster getting knocked out, and Connor getting hurt again. And maybe we can start to close the book on Connor as that feature back, as his level of durability keeps cropping up as an issue. But, for Mason Rudolph, this is going to hide and kind of mask that he flat out stunk tonight.
There's no other way around it. But before we get to that, Vodka Drinker gave us $5 in the tip jar. He said, if I'm not mistaken, that's assault with a weapon. And that's something that Adam Schefter actually tweeted out recently that he's like, that's assault. And so, it would have to come down to charges being pressed and things of that nature. But let's get to the game. There's plenty to talk about. And the funny thing is excuse me, I was watching Mason Rudolph, his interception that was intended for Vance McDonald, but was intercepted by the linebacker that was seemingly everywhere. What was his name? I can't remember his name. I should.
They said it over and over again. It's one,
but I watched him when you saw him release the football. I noticed something. He's trying to place the ball.
Yeah, he's not ripping it.
No, and that's it. Like everyone's like, he doesn't throw it. He doesn't throw well. It's because he's not ripping it, and that means that he doesn't trust his accuracy when he does rip it. And I don't know. I'm trying to think back to Ben early in his career. I can't remember really. I'd have to look at film, but anyone that has ever coached or played a sport that involves throwing an object, whether it's lacrosse, whether it's baseball, football, obviously with the quarterback position, when you're having to place the ball, in my opinion, bad things happen because
I'll give you an analogy,
you're
Jeff.
taking the velocity off the ball.
I'll give you an analogy. They don't when you're instructing you're a baseball guy. You don't tell pitchers to aim. You tell pitchers to throw.
Yep.
Trust your mechanics and throw the baseball. And if your mechanics are sound and solid, the ball will go where your mechanics tell it to go. But you can't aim. Once you start aiming, your mechanics break down and the ball definitely does not go where you intend it to go. Throw the ball, trust it, and rip it. And I think some of it is he's not confident in what he's seeing as well. So there's some hesitancy as well. He's not reading it clearly, consistently. And so when you're not doing that, you're definitely not going to rip it. But unfortunately, in some cases, he's throwing it way too hard on screens.
Yeah. Well, and the Juju Smith-Schuster tried that slant that he just
took his head off.
Pumped the ball in there way too. Yeah. And I don't know. And I think maybe he's had a lot of receivers drop passes. I wonder if there's even a point where he's thinking maybe I can't really drive the ball into this receiver because I'm not sure if he's going to catch it. But, we could spend an entire episode on how poorly Mason Rudolph played, and it was bad. It was every bit as bad as that. Lance said on our show last night that I'm soft on quarterbacks. I can't be soft on him this time because there's no way to even if you were the biggest Mason Rudolph apologist, and I do not feel that I am that. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he has a good potential, but he played like pure dog poop tonight. And so there were others that were joining him, trust me. But before we get to that, we have a lot of people in the live chat. I want to just mention that the best way people can help us is by just hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. We give you a show a day, no matter what during the season. Check us out, like this video, and by all means, subscribe to the channel. We seriously appreciate the support. So, Lance, other than Rudolph, the next person that comes to mind in terms of playing really, really bad was Mark Barron. I thought Mark Barron looked inept, maybe as inept as he's looked all season. And that's saying something because I feel like he's looked that way on multiple occasions. I don't know. He gets caught in the wash too much in the run game, and in coverage, he turns into be a liability. I'd rather see Vince Williams and Devin Bush together personally.
Yeah, the technique that he displayed in the end zone, it's amazing that pass was completed for the touchdown because maybe his eyes were closed and he was trying to use the force and locate the ball that way. But it was confusing as to how that pass was completed. I had a guy in the live chat, or not in the live chat, or one of the comments from the last show about me saying that Joe Hayden was the candy bar. And he might have been right. But I tried to amend that statement and say that Joe Hayden was the fruit chew. But, I'm going to get, Joe Hayden may not be the fruit chew. The actual candy bar and the fruit chew on the defense may be Mark Barron. Mark Barron is not, he's definitely, I wouldn't say he's a weak link, but he's somebody that I think teams feel like they can get after in coverage.
Yeah, but okay, so you want to talk about Barron. He was bad. I thought the offensive line was awful. How bad is it now that on 3rd and 1s with Mason Rudolph at quarterback, mind you, Steelers are going empty. They're not even having a running back in the backfield.
You know why?
They can't get a yard. They get no push whatsoever.
16 of 58. That's why.
Worst 3rd down offense in the NFL.
16 of 58 for 3.6 yards per carry. That's why they're doing it. And we've talked about the inconsistency with this running game throughout the year. We talked about how bad it was last week when I think they averaged maybe 1.6, 1.5 against the Rams. What happens is when you win, we say it on this show, we always say winning correct. You move forward. But some of the obvious warts that we point out on the show that we're taking the task for when they win, when they pop up, I mean, I don't want to look like, we told you so, but these warts have been here, and they've not run the ball well consistently, and this was a night where they needed to. I mean, there's no way in the world that Mason Rudolph should have 44 pass attempts, and that the running game only run it 16 times. I mean, that's ridiculous. That is not a recipe for consistent winning. I mean, Mason Rudolph had a 36.3 quarterback rating, and they chose to throw it 44 times. Why? Because the running game was terrible. And you're right about the offensive line. They got whooped tonight. They got whooped tonight.
That's the only thing that if you're going to try to say anything about Mason Rudolph's day, is that he had someone in his face a lot. I'm not going to say every time he dropped back, but it felt like a lot that he was. Every time there was someone just bearing down on him. He got hit a bunch tonight. So let's see here. We had a couple live chats here. I don't want to forget them. Anthony says $1.99, puts $1.99 in the tip jar. We appreciate that. He said Mark Barron has been a Reese cup, and that's referred to the Snickers that Lance suggested. And then Brandon Reese says, why are they keep Barron in? Do they not see it? I don't know. I don't know.
Sidebar, Jeff. So how do you pronounce it? You say Reese's cup?
Yeah. Or yeah.
Somebody told me in the West Coast that people in the West Coast say Reese's cups.
Huh.
But I always thought it was Reese's cups. I mean, it makes sense that we would say it. I mean, Wheeling and Pittsburgh are what, an hour and a half away? So
it's like 45 minutes if you go up a certain way.
Well, yeah. So yeah, so Reese's cups. I never knew Reese's cups.
Well, then you have the I would always laugh at myself as a kid when you get Reese's Pieces. We used to say Reese's Pieces.
Yeah, Reese's Pieces. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a West Coast thing. And so, somebody said to my daughter when they heard me say Reese's cups, they said he must be from back east.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Reese's.
Oh, yeah. Big shout out. Here we go. Anthony, Wheeling native. I'm proud. Yes, proud. I have a question for you, Lance, and this is going to be a challenging question. Are you ready?
Uh-oh.
Every day after the game, I do a winners and losers column for the BehindTheSteelCurtain.com website. Give me a winner. I have a long list of losers. Like, that was easy. Give me someone on the Steelers or even their coaching staff that you could say was a winner after Week 11's loss to the Browns.
I'm going to say TJ Watt.
Okay.
I thought Watt played pretty well. I mean,
lost contain a couple times, but
yeah, they lost contain a bit, and we were way off on our numbers, and I think Tomlin was right when he said that the biggest issue, and I would have never guessed that the Steelers would have came out with just one sack, but them losing contain in terms of how they were rushing was critical to the Browns' success. But I would say TJ Watt. I think Bud Dupree didn't play badly as well. I thought the front played pretty well, especially how they responded to Chubb in the run game. They did a pretty good job of stuffing that. I mean, they didn't play terribly. They got hit with a couple of big plays, but they were trying to hold water. I mean, it was the offense wasn't doing anything. I mean, and we always go through the game book, and I'm trying to just plant some of the numbers, as I make my comments. But when you're third down efficiency, you're 2 of 11. And on fourth down, you're 0 of 3.
No, they got one, didn't they? The quarterback sneak, was that fourth or third?
It was third.
Okay, there you go.
So they were 2 of 11 on third down, 0 of 3 for 0%, obviously, on fourth down. So, I mean, that's 2 of 14. That's not good enough. So, I don't know how good you can play when your offense can't convert third or fourth downs.
Okay, so you said Watt. I know a lot of people in the live chat are saying Jordan Berry, but Jordan Berry bobbled the snap on the field goal that
Yes.
Boswell missed, so that eliminates him from the running, in my opinion.
And when you're going
So
to kickers, it's a stretch. I
some people
mean,
are saying
or punters, I should say.
Miles Garrett's lawyer should be on the winners list. Uh, do you agree with this? I'm gonna put this on there for Steelers. Frank put this up. He said the nation needed this loss back down to earth. You think that's true?
No, I think the nation needed another bad win or another ugly style point, no style win. I mean, that's what the nation needs. You need wins. There's no moral losses or like none of that matters, right? You just need wins. You need to go to Cleveland. They needed to go to Cleveland and find a way to win. That's what they needed. Let me give you a number. Guess this number, Jeff. The average gain per pass play.
The what?
The average gain per pass play in this game.
In this game
by the Steelers.
I'm gonna say 4.7.
3.7.
Oh wow, I was being aggressive.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were. 3.7. That's
Wow.
awful. That's awful. That's awful. That's so bad, Jeff, that that's the same average that their yards per carry in the running game today. That's how bad that is. When your average gain passing the ball, is the same as rushing, it was a bad game, and this was a bad one.
So, Rough House Boxing TV puts $5 in the tip jar. So I'm not saying put Duck in, but the one thing I noticed about Duck is he navigates the pocket and senses pressure pretty well, better than Rudolph.
He does do that better than Rudolph. Let me ask that guy again. He says the last guy. What was Rough House Boxing? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Who's the number one pound for pound fighter in the world? Respond in the live chat. I just want to hear his answer.
Okay. So let me ask you this. I thought the defense settled in. And I thought they started making plays and they were getting pressure. They stopped the run better than I thought they could. But let's talk about the offense.
There was some offense? Okay.
Where do you even start? I'm not saying what needs to change. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, like, well, let's overhaul everything. Where do you start if you're Randy Fichtner or Mike Tomlin, whoever's taken over for that offense moving forward? Where do you even start to get this together?
They have to establish the running game. They have to get a semblance of a running game. If you have Mason Rudolph throwing 40 times in a game to win, it's not going to work consistently. They have to run the football. They have to figure out runs that they can execute well with the guys that they have running. They have to take pressure off of this kid. The kid is, another 11 third down attempts. I think the previous game, it might have been 16. The game before that was 15. All these games where he's put in position to where you have, 12 plus third down attempts. That's just too much pressure. They've got to be able to run the football. And this play total imbalance has to shift. It has to be more tilted to the run game and less passing. Him throwing it 35 times plus. Ben had his difficulty of doing that consistently, let alone a Mason Rudolph. They've got to get this running game right. They have to.
I guess that's where you start, but they don't even trust this team to convert a 3rd and 1.
That's to my point. They got to get it right. If you can't run it on 3rd and 1, you've got a guy that's essentially a rookie trying to convert 3rd and 1s because you have no faith in the running game. That tells you everything. They got to get this right. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They need to be able to run the football. This is black and gold. I'm not saying you go back to Rocky Blyer and Franco Harris or Barry Foster, or Jerome Bettis, but man, you got to be able to convert in short yardage situations with the running game when you got such an inexperienced quarterback.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one to swallow. And honestly, if you were to ask me that question, like, Jeff, what would you do? I don't even know. I honestly, if I'm Randy Fiedner, I'd be like sitting back in my office saying, we can't even gain a yard. We can't even gain a yard when the other team knows we're going to run it. We know we're going to run it. You should be able to gain a yard.
With 3 Pro Bowlers.
And they can't gain a yard. It's happened over and over again. They can't get a yard.
Boy, and Villanueva was, he was getting murdered. But dealing with Garrett, man, Garrett is a load, but he was getting murdered all game. He lifted the guy. He looked like he lifted him up like a refrigerator and pushed it into a front door. No, he actually looked like a guy lifted up a refrigerator, put it on one of those moving sleds that have the wheels, and he just pushed Villanueva across the floor.
Absolutely. So, okay, here we go. Johnston puts $1.99 in. Says we must still be believers, and I think he's referring to my shirt. I think this team can still rebound from this. I don't think this is the end of the world. It was a bad spot for the Steelers in a lot of ways.
You've got a 0-9 team, or a team that might be 0-10 with a rookie quarterback
on the road next week.
On the road, I mean, go beat the Bengals up,
and then get ready for revenge against Cleveland the following week.
Yeah, go win 2 games in a row.
Yep, plain and simple. So, Johnny gave us $2 in the tip jar. I want to put his name up there. We appreciate that as always. And you
got a question, Johnny? Does Johnny have a question?
Nope, nothing.
Hey, well, I appreciate it.
Senior Slim says, "What's going to be the next lucky shirt?" I don't know. I might go back to the jerseys. I might try to find a jersey that works.
No, Jeff. No.
What?
I need you to create a 1-of-1 shirt. # just take it.
I don't know. I'll have to look. I've got a lot of t-shirts, so I'll have to find one that I think works.
And if you guys don't know what I'm referring to,
you got to go back and watch that show.
That was what, Tuesday?
Yeah, the Tuesday Steelers preview. You could fast forward to the end, probably about the last. We went for about an hour. I listened from about 45 minutes on, and you'll hear some very interesting comments and rants from Mr. Brian Anthony Davis. We'll put it that way.
Or how about a # touchdown zone?
Could be.
Could be. That's a money maker.
Yeah.
Gold #, gold touchdown zone, black background. I'm for that one.
There you go. So, all right, folks. Well, this was an ugly one, and we talked about a lot of stuff that had nothing to do with the game, but that's what everyone's going to be talking about. So, don't want to spend too much time on this. Lance, you're going to be back tomorrow night with a I said it, and then
I need help, listeners. I need help. Somebody in the live chat, give me a topic. I want my topic to be, I said it. Pouncey should have kicked them like 4 or 5 more times, but I can't make a entire
I would like
show
to hear you elaborate a little bit more on how the running game is where they should start. That's what I would like to hear, but that's just me. Roughhouse Boxing puts $5 in. He wants you to see this. His answer to your question: best pound for pound boxer, Deontay Wilder.
Oh, that's a good take. I didn't think that he would say Deontay Wilder. I think it's Inoue, the bantamweight from Japan, the monster. I think he's the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world. Just won the bantamweight tournament of champions, won the Muhammad Ali trophy. So I think it's Inoue. But Wilder's a good choice. Entertaining guy. He might be the hardest one-punch heavyweight puncher. His right hand might be the best one-punch knockout shot in history of boxing. I mean, if you get hit with it, you're out. Nobody can take that shot.
All right, we got a couple people that think they have a good idea for your "Yeah, I said it." This one is "Yeah, I said it." My pick jinxed the Steelers.
Oh,
Wes
that's
says that
funny.
he agrees with me on how to fix the offense. That's what he'd like to see you go after. Um, yeah, I said it. Mason has a weak arm. So we got some creativity coming at you. But then also, Lance, for you, this is 1999 from Kevin Johnston. Lance, from your North Side buddy. So there you go.
15233, 15212, North Side, stand up. Manchester, baby.
Yeah, there you go. What was was it a 412 area code?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
412, definitely. Pennsylvania Avenue, Columbus Avenue, Sheffield Street, Fulton Ave, North Ave, Pepe's.
Permanis.
Yes, Manchester Elementary, St. Joe's. Yeah. I never knew. Interesting thing, being from the North Side, I never knew what Permanis was actually until I moved back to Pittsburgh. I had never heard of it. I mean, that's kind of how Pittsburgh is. You go to your neighborhood sandwich spot, and for us, it was always Pepe's. You just go walk and get a Pepe's, or go get
There
some
you go.
fried zucchini at Shamrocks. You know,
Here's a good one. An idea for your show. Was our O line built for Le'Veon Bell and not a runner like James Conner?
that is a good one.
Or
Thank you.
Roughhouse Boxing. Yeah, I said it. We need a push to start offense.
I like that. I like that. Push to start. Vroom, vroom.
There you
Vroom,
go.
vroom.
So, here we go from Gary. Yeah, I said it. What to do when 2 a.m. booty call fails? Because remember, the 2019 Steelers
Yes,
are
yes.
your 2 a.m. booty call.
Yeah,
We just got left on red right there. We
yes,
just got left on red.
yes. That was a great one. Yeah. What do you do at 2 a.m.? Yeah. Yeah.
So Lance, you have some ideas. So Lance will be on for tomorrow's. Yeah, I said it. I will be on Saturday for the burning question. I'll probably be on Sunday as well to kind of recap what happened on the day there. The Ravens play the Texans. That's going to be an important game to watch. And maybe we'll talk about what lies ahead for the Steelers if they sit 5-5 heading into week 12. So Lance, anything to add before we call it a show?
This was a Donnybrook of a game. The end was pretty ugly. And so I think we'll all be sitting back waiting to see what happens when it comes to fines and suspensions, because it's going to be significant. But with that, you know what to do. Tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe.
And we will be back next Sunday for the next episode of the Steelers post-game show. I almost said Steelers preview. Steelers post-game show. We'll see you then, hopefully after a win. Lance, thanks for your time. We'll see you.